It is time for an incredible match of StarCraft 2, and what I got for you today is a Zerg vs Terran played on Abyssal Reef LE. I don't really know exactly what it is about this map, but ever since it first got introduced, just a couple of months ago, some of the most epic games in all of StarCraft 2's history have taken place on this map, and apparently this one right here is one of them as well. Now first off, let's go ahead and introduce the players, because both of these guys are incredible. Spawning in the top left corner, playing with the red Zerg pieces, the rank 1 Zerg player in the world for about the last 6 months or so, he is known as Dark. And, you know, him being the best Zerg player in the world for a while, I mean, I'm automatically a fan. He's probably my favorite player in the game right now. He's absolutely incredible. I mean, I don't think anyone would be surprised if Dark ends up being the Zerg player that wins the most tournaments this year. He's been on a roll for about the last half year or so, and before that he was extremely good already, and he's been doing very, very well for himself in 2017 already, at the very least so far. Now, spawning all the way on the other end of the map, playing with the blue Terran pieces, definitely not a bad player by any stretch of the imagination. We have the most dominant StarCraft 2 player of all time, and he is known as INnoVation. Now, calling him the best Terran player in the world may be a little bit more tricky, because, of course, we've got Bjorn, we've got Maru, we've got TY, and even Alive recently as well. He's been doing very well. So I would say, like, as far as the Terran units go, I mean, there's just simply a whole lot of great Terran players right now, and it's hard to call that one. But INnoVation, he's been playing since the beginning of StarCraft 2. He's been doing very, very well for himself, and he's been able to really, like, you know, let his true color shine in the earlier stages of 2017 already. I mean, the guy has been on an absolute tear, and I am not surprised if he ends up being the rank 1 Terran player at the end of this year. I mean, he's an absolute treat to watch. So this is supposedly going to be an extremely high-level match. This was actually played during the IEM Championships just a couple of days ago, but it took place really early on into the tournament. Apparently these two met as well during the group stages of that tournament, and that does mean that I personally did not quite get to watch this because there were so many things happening at the time, or at the same time, like a lot of matches were indeed being played. But this right here is supposedly an incredible match, so we'll figure it out together. INnoVation, of course, an extremely macro-focused Terran player, rather. He's a little bit predictable in that regard, because his opponents know very well as well that he's going to try and play to his strengths, but he may very well be the best macro-focused player in all of StarCraft 2 ever, and he's been favoring this, like, very quick starport opener lately in Zerg vs Terran. He's been going for a bunch of Hellions, and it looks like that is exactly what we got right now as well, and he may very well follow this up with, indeed, a starport and an attack lab, I'm guessing, right here on this barracks too, so he can start up that Banshee production, and exactly that is what we see right now for INnoVation here as well. At the same time, Dark decided to go for a very quick expansion timing. He got himself a very early... Ooh, actually... the Reaper almost getting caught right there by the handful of Zerglings, but regardless. Dark going for a very quick expansion, of course, following it up with a couple of drones in that gas geyser. Started up the metabolic boost upgrade, which is the Zergling speed, and he's going to be able to set himself up for a rather quick third base expansion here as well. Now, it looks like for at least a little while, he left the drones in the extractor, so I don't know exactly what he was planning with that, because currently he's banking up 150 gas, or 140, I guess, for the time being. Reaper will eventually get picked up, so the Zerg will be able to go for the third. Maybe actually, hold that thought for a second. The Hellions swoop back around and they actually get that kill. Beautiful move by INnoVation. Wow. Manages to get that probe, or that drone kill rather, and he will be able to delay the expansion, plus get into the main base. Maybe even get a couple more workers. There we go. Beautiful little move. More importantly though, he also scouts the super quick lair and he gets one more drone. Wow. Getting that value right here. I was gonna say though, maybe Dark wanted to go for that quick Overlord speed upgrade, but he found out anyway, with a cheeky little bit of Overlord positioning, exactly the strategy that his opponent is going for. But that scout with those Hellions, that commitment right there was beautiful. A lesser Terran player, like myself for example, would probably have gotten stuck on the ramp or something, and basically gotten neither the scout nor any of the drone kills, and probably not the delay on that third either. So little moves like that, right? That is what separates the top of the line Terran players from the lower level ones. I mean, it may not seem very significant, but that third base got delayed by just about 10-20 seconds or so, and that adds up really quickly. Of course, Dark in the meantime was spending his resources elsewhere, but still, you gotta keep in mind, little advantages like that add up very quickly over time, in particular when your macro is as good as INnoVation. So you can see, like, supply-wise, normally Zerg is gonna be quite a bit ahead at this point in the game. so far, INnoVation is looking really solid, in particular when you consider he's adding on that third command center very early on here into the match already. Anyway, Banshee has indeed made its way across the map. I believe that INnoVation was researching the cloak upgrade for a bit, but it turns out he has decided to cancel that one at the last second. But INnoVation, a little bit sloppy there on the control, even though I was hyping him up. That's the caster curse right there, right? Even though I was hyping him up, he ended up losing that Banshee there. But still, he managed to get at least some money's worth here as well. So here's the thing, right? He made his opponent scout that it was being, or that something was being researched right here in that tech lab. After it got scouted, he simply cancelled the upgrade and forced the opponent to get the spore crawlers and a much quicker lair than he wanted to go for anyway. So the damage was done, so there was really no particular reason for the Terran player to continue that research. But there's no way Dark could really skip that one out, because there wasn't a way of him figuring out whether or not that upgrade finished or whether or not it was just simply cancelled. Anyway, regardless, looks like we're setting up for exactly my favorite type of game. We're setting up for a macro-focused style. There's a Spire coming in. We see that Baneling Nest going down right now as well. And while Dark did decide to go for a Roach Warren here reasonably early on into this game, I don't think he's going to produce any of them. I mean, a couple of Hellions trying to get a run by into the third base location. Looks like they're going to be shoot away, in particular once those couple more Queens will decide to join in as well. Nice little bit of time buying, I suppose, by these Zerglings. Really giving those Queens additional time to get into position. And while they were trying to spread some creep in other directions, this creep spread is gonna go really fast. Just keep an eye out on that, okay? This is one of those things that separates the top of the line Zerg players from people like, for example, myself. I mean, I'm pretty decent at Zerg. I consider myself pretty decent, but you can see that little things like creep spread will very quickly get out of control on a map the size of this, and with this many alleyways, it's very important that that happens as well. Now, is Zerg aware of this army movement? Because there are a lot of Marines as well as a bunch of Widow Mines trying to make their way across the map. And I'm starting to wonder here if Zerg even knows about it. I mean, he will figure out about this right now. A couple of these creep tumors will indeed get hurt, but there is indeed not that big of an army out for Zerg right at this point in time. But it looks like Dark is indeed prepared no matter what. He will be able to shoo away this at least in just a little bit once 22 more Zerglings will end up falling. But beautiful target firing there in those, or with those Widow Mines, killing a lot of those units. And while one of them ends up falling here as well, these Marines definitely paid up for themselves. And you got to keep in mind, Marines and Widow Mines easily replaceable. Medivacs, not so much. You don't want to lose those if you are the Terran player. So beautiful move there. Even if it's just to slow down the creep, I think that INnoVation would have already been happy with that. You can see that supply count, right? This is what Terran players are so good at this level. Look at that. Randomly, all of a sudden, Terran is indeed ahead in that supply count, and he's macroing like an absolute champ. Fort base is indeed going down. The Marines apparently tried getting another creep tumor kill, and I think they may have very well been able to get that one. But more and more drones in production now too. Dark is setting himself up for the amount of drones that he wants for the remainder of this game. Generally speaking, you don't really want to go over 80 or so. Right now, Dark has got 76 of them, and he's producing just a handful more. However, Medivac is not done just yet. There are a few mutas out, however, so they will be able to catch those Medivacs reasonably easily. Units already in the main as well, ready to intercept this drop from even coming in. And losing 2 Medivacs could be an extremely big pain, actually. Look at that. There is no way that the Terran can easily land these Medivacs, and that's a roughly 20 supply lost in units as soon as this second Medivac indeed ended up going down as well. Somehow, some way, INnoVation has it still up and running, but it will get taken care of there. And you can see that all of a sudden, Dark, once again, looking solid when it comes to the amount of supply. And actually, defending that was a big deal, because that double Terran drop could have been a big hurt here later on into the game as well. INnoVation still having a lot of units out on the map here as well. He's desperately trying to slow down the creep spread, and it looks like, at the very least for now, he's been able to do so very, very nicely, actually. I was gonna say, like, you should have been paying attention to the minimap, right, to see that creep advancing, but not gonna lie, Terran has done a magnificent job at slowing it and containing it, at least for the time being. But if he gives it only a minute or two, it will start spreading very, very rapidly. Of course, Queens in place, ready to replace any lost creep tumors, which is beautifully done. But apparently the Mutalisks have made their way across the map, and this is a bit of an awkward position, because most of the Terran's army is caught out on the other end of the map, and what, maybe able to intercept this? Oh my god, that was actually a really nice move there by INnoVation. If all of those mutas would have gone down, that would have almost been game over right then and there. Nice little move by INnoVation, though, baiting those units away from the depots by pushing with reinforcing marines from the right and then intercepting from the left as well, where the mutas are supposedly safe. And apparently this is giving INnoVation the confidence to start moving across the map as well. Look at this. There are so many units already out here for Zerg, though, so I wonder if there's going to be even remotely enough for the Terran player right now. But you got to keep in mind, there are, of course, a lot of Widow Mines here, and Widow Mines do insane amounts of splash damage. Apparently, Zerg confident, though. He's going to try and move off creep, try and get the perfect detonations off, and that actually turned out way in favor of the Zerg player. What an insane move. Generally speaking, I would not advise going for these moves, because when you move off creep, right, you can very well lose all of your units, because the banelings cannot quite easily connect when you are off creep, because they just move around so much slower. With a beautiful calculated move there, the Zerg player managed to get a significant advantage, and 17 mutas out here already. This is going to be painful, in particular once +2/+2 finishes up. Now, Hive, not quite on construction just yet. That is one of the things you do need to keep in mind. He is getting himself a 5th base as well, but I mean, Terran has already finished up 2-2 and has started up 3-3, and Terran, of course, becomes extremely scary once they finish up the 3-3, because as Zerg, you need a Hive, but as Terran, you only need that armory. Now, we'll see whether or not Zerg will be adding on that infestation pit here in just a little bit, because for the time being, I'm starting to be a little bit worried that he's not attacking up fast enough. He may very well go for a massive push, though, now that +2/+2 has indeed finished up. And look at that. So many Zerg units are moving across the map, and it looks like that's exactly what is going to store right now. 2 cheeky little Widow Mines burrowing on the top of that ramp. They will be able to connect with units on the low ground if they decide to stand still in that response. But there are so many units. I think he's going to try and do a double-pronged harass here. He's going to try and move up the ramp right here while rolling in with the banelings from the other end. But look at that beautiful control. The Widow Mine actually connecting there, picking up 8 kills in total, which is insane. Solid defense here so far, though, by INnoVation, really not missing a beat. However, all of the Zerg units have arrived at this newly acquired 4th base location for the Terran units. And look at that, so many Zerg units trying to advance in an absolute massacre. But I'm not gonna lie, I mean, Terran seems to be holding on here. It's really important that Zerg deals significant amounts of damage, but I don't know if that counts as significant amounts. I mean, sure, some damage indeed was done. 13 SCVs ended up falling, but the command center is still up and running, and indeed, mules will be able to land right now, picking up that economy right where it left off. However, Dark still looking reasonably solid as far as the army supply goes, but only just now, at 12 minutes into the game, is he adding on that infestation pit. And of course, INnoVation knows this as well, right? He knows very well that there's not gonna be any kind of, like, you know, like quick Hive play when you see this many units coming out of a Zerg player. However, mutas, gotta be careful! Gotta be careful! Oh my god, that was a sick move once again! INnoVation just completely, you know, outmaneuvering, I suppose, where those mutas could potentially be located, burrowing his Widow Mines in seemingly random locations, but they connect, right? They connect with units. This little location apparently turned out to be absolutely brilliant. And but look at that, though. He's moving them in separate locations on the map, and it really hurts the Zerg. This is one of those things that you see lesser Terran players just simply not executing. Hive, though, eventually on that production tab, there's a lot of queens out already, and while Dark does still have the supply lead, as far as upgrades go, he's gonna be pretty far behind. +3/+3 is, of course, done here for the Terran pieces, and apparently, Terran has decided that he wants to start moving across the map. A whole bunch of Widow Mines and Marines are, or rather, Widow Mines and Zerglings are ready to go for the counterattack, but here the Zerg pieces are at, oh my god, actually, that was a solid engagement there. I didn't think that Zerg would be able to get a whole lot out of that, but apparently the Widow Mines were spotted closely hooked up together, and that did indeed allow Dark to clean up a whole bunch of them. Hive almost just now about to finish up. Zerglings are trying to move forward to all of these different locations, but once again, the walling in and the macro of the Terran player just a little bit too good, and none of the damage that the Zerg was hoping for ended up going down. Here we go, though. Zerg is gonna have to do something. I mean, Terran's just simply sitting there, right? Which is a little bit scary. There are a very substantial amount of mutas out still. You will be able to kill all of those units if they would try and retreat after this engagement. But regardless, like, Terran has got a substantial force here, ready to sit and just simply wait and slowly advance onwards, right? However, Zerg has set up a super nice concave. Hive is done. More and more units are in production, and Zerg is gonna try and get up the surround. And are there enough Terran units? I mean, a very substantial amount of them are indeed at this part of the map, but were that enough Terran units? Because part of the Terran army was indeed left at home, and look at the amount of units here that Zerg managed to move across the map. Of course, beautiful kiting, not connecting with any of those banelings off creep, and all of a sudden, while that fight looked to initially go in favor of Zerg, the Terran player managed to not get any of those banelings connected to the Marines, and the Marines are indeed moving on the creep right now, feeling confident they will be able to catch some of these morphing in banelings. Of course, Widow Mines once again trying to burrow in the middle of that engagement, but there are still so many mutas out in the sky, and Terran may have very well just overextended for just a split second. INnoVation tried setting up that non-stop Terran harass where he just simply rallies all of his unit producing structures across the map, but Dark is not having it. Eventually, very late on into this match, he's getting his Ultralisk Cavern started up here. He's starting up his Adrenal Glands upgrade, which is one of the most important researches for Zerg players in StarCraft 2 as of late, just because you get so much additional damage on those links here as well. But Terran is not done, Joe. Like, INnoVation is having so much production here, he's got himself a lot of economy, and with all of these planetary fortresses in place, it's gonna be very difficult for Zerg to do any kind of run-bys, and while desperately more and more Banes are being morphed in, I'm starting to still be a little bit worried. Look at the Terran train just simply moving across the map, right? This engagement is one of those engagements where the Zerg either has to crush it or it's never gonna end. And once again, beautiful splits on those Marines, not connecting with any of those banelings very well just so far. Once again, those splits are insane. They're just simply not connecting with all too many of the units. However, Zerg still has got a substantial amount of units, 150 versus 140 supply. However, the mutas are slowly dwindling. Ultralisk Cavern is done. Chitinous plating is starting up. I wonder if Zerg has got enough time here to squeeze out some of those units. As you can see, he has decided to delay the +3/+3 research just simply because he needs to spend his research, or his resources rather, on getting as many of those units out as he possibly can. Somehow a group of Zerglings have made their way across, and this is huge actually. A lot of the units will get intercepted, but I think at the cost of another base here as well, because Dark has no way of holding on to that expansion. Banelings trying to connect with as many of these Marines as possible, but it looks like instead the Widow Mines managed to do a lot of damage. Very nice engagement here still though. The Zerglings are dealing damage on the other end of the map, and a lot of Terran economy will end up falling, but is there enough left over here for either of these players? Extremely close match here so far. Terran, of course, got these Marines, they got Stimpack, they all have an individual Medivac healing them up to the best of their abilities, but Ultras are on the production tab. That base aggression did get cleaned up, and INnoVation still has got a solid amount of economy. Of course, those mules are looking nice, but non-stop harass though. Beautiful move. This is so difficult to maintain as a Terran player, and Zerg is also like holding on very, very nicely. Not an easy thing to do, but eventually, yeah, it looks like Terran just simply got a little bit too much stuff, and Dark ends up losing that match. Insane trades, insane game, beautiful move here by both of these players. I mean, Dark committed a lot into that +2/+2 attack timing, right? With the Zerglings and the Banelings and then the Mutas as well. He decided to delay his Hive Tech, and therefore he just simply could not catch back up into this game. And INnoVation analyzed it brilliantly. He didn't end up losing a whole lot during any of those engagements, and he just kept on the pressure, knowing that if he did, those Ultras would just simply never really start roaming the map. And at that point, even though the run by did a bunch of damage, INnoVation just simply had a little bit too much stuff. Beautiful game there. I don't think there's anything else to discuss there. I adore watching these kind of games. It's awesome. It's so difficult to execute. Anyway, regardless, I hope you enjoyed watching this game. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button, as well as follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, so you get notification as soon as I upload more. Other than that, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I will see you in the next one.